Hey, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Oh, awesome. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Just hanging out here at my house.
Oh, very cool. Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely heard you at Cellcore is very interested. Some of my staff does neuro emotional technique,
Oh, very cool.
and I've done a little training, not nearly enough.
Well, there's never enough, as we know, in every realm here.
Absolutely. Well, I'm just hoping because you are the first person I'm doing this with that I have all the clicks
Uh-oh.
right to get us onto Facebook properly. I've never done a
Okay.
Zoom Facebook.
This will be interesting then.
I do have all your questions here. Is there anything you wanted me to know or kind of go over during this?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm just, wherever the conversation goes, I'm happy to go. Just been kind of thinking about different tips that we can give people for, stuff they can do at home to help that process along and the healing process. So,
Yeah,
you know, hopefully it's of value.
absolutely. Just to give you a background on kind of the group, I
Okay.
tend to have autistic parents that you're going to be on here, PANS parents, and then the very, very chronically ill,
Okay.
Lyme, parasite, mold. So a lot of people that are needing a lot of mindset and positivity, emotional clearing.
Yes. Okay.
I hear a lot about suicidal ideations. I hear a lot
Okay.
about anxiety and depression.
Okay.
Um, and that's just from the people that I'm talking to, not the parents of the kids that are trying
Oh,
to take care of these autistic children, these PANS children.
wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's heavy stuff.
It gets heavy, yeah. So a lot of emotional blocking for me.
Yeah, I'm sure. I am sure. You have to kind of guard yourself and surround yourself every time you go into the office, probably.
I think I have an innate nature to do that a little on my own, just in general, which is what allowed me to be able to even get into this.
Yeah,
Um,
I can see that. I mean, how important that would be and work well for you.
so how'd you get into the emotional realm?
I had a chronic illness. I had Epstein-Barr virus. I had um, severe candida, parasites. I had everything, before we had the avenues that you guys have now in terms of being able to detox. So I kind of had to find my way through. But I always knew there was an emotional component, but I never had any tools to address it.
Hmm.
And I just went down that path of trying to figure out how to do it. And so I created, after learning some other techniques and realizing they had some shortcomings, I kind of created my own way of doing it, and delving a little bit deeper into like the subconscious mind and things like that. So that's been a journey I have been on for 25 years.
Awesome.
So yeah, and it's taken my health to the next level, and ended up kind of making my practice explode because I was connected with chiropractors and naturopaths that had people that they couldn't get past a certain level, and they knew there was an emotional component, but they just couldn't do anything about it. So they would come to me, and then the person would refer all their friends. And so it just kind of grew organically like that.
I know that's how it works. You do good work, you care, you grow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. That is so true. It's just a law, an unwritten law.
It is. You just
It's
gotta have the
true.
right energy and want it too, though, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, it's
if you're
true.
wiped out, you're not going to be bringing to the table people that are feeling good.
Yep, that's true. Like attracts like, or people who
Hmm. I
want to
talk
be
with my
like you.
associate doctors all the time about that. I'm like, you have to be the example. You have to be
Hmm.
congruent. You have to live it to lead it. You have to, you
It's
know,
true.
show who you are in this world. I've done a lot of NET when I was going through some things. I didn't know about you.
Uh-huh. That's okay. I don't do it anymore. I do other stuff. So,
Yeah. Well, we
well,
got a
that's good.
few more minutes here.
You
Are you
made me.
doing Cellcore stuff, or were you just brought on as emotional?
No, I'm doing cell core stuff. I actually, funny enough, I attended the first eco where you spoke,
Yeah.
and there I went. Right, so I was there with one of my practitioners, and I turned to her and I said, "They need emotional stuff here. They're missing that." And I said, "And I want to speak next time." So I started visualizing speaking there, and it just happened.
There you go.
So yeah, so I was glad that I was able to do that because I think it's such an important part of that of the healing process for people for sure.
I completely agree. I've got a young woman in my office right now who lots of PTSD from, she just can't seem to find healthy men in her life,
Uh,
father and now ex-husband, and she's only 22.
oh no!
So we have her doing neurofeedback and NET because that's what we have in the office, and she's slowly starting to regain sleep. She didn't tell us she was only sleeping 1 hour a night for 2 months.
Oh my
She
goodness!
started catching
Wow.
mistakes in her work because she was quiet about everything and didn't bring it up.
Sure.
I was like,
Oh wow.
whoa, wait a minute, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh well, how fortunate that she is that she's got you guys to help work with her and move her past those things because that's wow. She's young.
Yeah. And at 16, no, 14, she got in a concussion, ended up in Mayo. And then I pulled her, well, years later, I pulled her out of that. And that's how she got to working for me.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
and then she got married to a guy that ended up being abusive. And I'm just like,
Oh, no,
come
no.
on.
Oh, yeah, and that's a perfect example of subconscious limiting beliefs that create a life for us before we're not consciously creating that life. It's coming from the subconscious mind. So, and that was one of the things. That's one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight is that dynamic.
We will do it. I'm going to start clicking through and see if I can get this to work for us.
Okay.
Choose where you want it to go. Share in a group. True healing strategies. This group is taken off.
It's fantastic. I was looking at your Facebook page. You're doing great stuff. And it's just exploding, it looks like.
Staying committed. We're almost to 6,000 and it's been
Wow.
7 months, 7.5 months, something like that.
That's incredible. Wow. Which means it's just going to grow exponentially now.
Title. I get to title this. So what do we want to title this? Mindset and Emotional Healing with Tracy Southwick.
Works for me.
I've got my computer, my laptop set up high because I was told by Allie that I have to have it up high.
Oh, so I should put mine up high too. I'm probably getting some bad wrinkles showing. You don't have that problem yet. Let's do that. How's that?
I
There.
actually can't see you at the moment. It's giving me a preview of
Oh, okay.
what it was supposed to look like. If you have friends that are going to watch us, it will be a little behind. I noticed that you invited a couple of people. All right. So, title Mindset / Emotional Healing with Tracy Southwick. And that is how you say your last name, right?
That's it.
All right. So, here we go. Go live.
Okay.
Setting up the meeting. Let's see. All right, it says we are live. Oh, there we go. Looks like we're catching up.
Okay.
So I'd just like to introduce everyone tonight. I'm going to let a few people join in first, but we are with Tracy Southwick tonight. We're going to be talking about mindset and emotional healing. I'm so excited to have you here tonight. So Tracy, if you can tell us a few facts about yourself, just to get us started about your journey to emotional healing and what brought you here.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you, and thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here and share. I'm a naturopath, and I have a mind, body, spirit clinic in Houston, Texas. I have been in this field for 25 years, and I always knew. I actually came from a background of chronic illness. I had Epstein-Barr virus, pretty bad case of it. It took a long time. For the doctor to figure out what was going on with me, and Prozac was their answer, but it wasn't my answer. So I went down the road of looking for natural alternative modalities, and that's what got me into the natural health world. But I didn't have any tools to move to the next level after I got to a certain level of physical health. So I was in a place where in the late 90s, I had a radio show and a health store, and everything was going great, but I couldn't. It was kind of like this glass ceiling that I had created for myself. And every time I got to a certain point, my back would go out, or, something would happen. It was usually my back going out, and I'd go to the chiropractor and they'd get me patched back together again, but I was never able to kind of get past that level. And in the early 2000s, I started learning some techniques about emotional clearing, and that's when the light bulb went off, and I realized what was happening there, and I realized and learned ways that I could clear those underlying subconscious beliefs that were sabotaging my progress. And I also had other physical things that were tied to emotions as well. So through the years, I developed some techniques that really help get into the subconscious mind, figure out what those limiting beliefs are, figure out what emotions might be trapped in the body or blocking certain detox processes in the body, figure out what they are, and then helping the body to release them so that you can move to the next level of health. So it's a fun process, and I still have emotional blocks. Everyone does. It's just part of life. But to be able to have those tools to move those emotions out so that your body can be healthy, mind, body, spirit, it makes a huge difference along the process of, getting to where you want to be.
So, I mean, what I'm hearing, and at least the way that I talk a lot, is that as you're living life, and because we talk a lot about infections in my group and toxins, you're accumulating emotional stress in your bucket too, in your body and your ability to adapt.
Yes.
And that bucket, as it fills, can be from emotional blocks that end up creating your back going out like you were having.
Mm-hmm.
Or what I've seen so many times before, these emotional distresses can leave us weak, where Epstein-Barr or Lyme parasites can have a more of a hold on us, or be able to stay in our body because we can't deal with these emotions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have, and that's similar to how I describe it to people. We have, I always say, we've got a certain amount of healing energy in our bodies. And we all have different fires that we're trying to use that bucket to put those fires out. So some of the fires can be an infection. Some can be emotions that you're holding on to that just bring your vibration down so your body can't heal, detoxify. It's going to affect your mitochondria, your energy production, everything. We all know how it is when you're around somebody who is angry or depressed, any kind of real low vibration emotions, and they're stuck there, and it drains you just being around them. And I've been in that place, certainly, versus somebody who's just a real high vibration person, and you want to be around them because you feel energized by them.
Well, we talk a little bit about vibration here. I do some muscle testing, so energy is a part of the practice that I work in. And you're talking about vibration, and I love talking about vibration because I know in my life that when I'm healthy and happy and feeling good, and I'm exhibiting gratitude, and
Yes.
thankfulness and
Yep.
excitement. These are high vibration emotions, right? And
Absolutely.
even in a sick person, which I have a friend who wrote a book called Joy Warrior, even in a
Ah.
sick person, if you exhibit those high vibration emotions, is that going to help you heal? Is that going to help you have more energy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's a beautiful way to put it. I'm going to have to look up that book, Joy Warrior. Yeah, gratitude is one of my favorite practices, and I actually, you could say, prescribe it to people a lot. There's actually a wonderful book called The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't.
Okay, she's the one that did The Secret years ago. And after she did The Secret, she said, you know what? There was something missing. And that something that was missing was gratitude. And so she wrote a book, and it's 28 days of a practice of shifting your mindset to a mindset of gratitude. And it will shift your health, it'll shift everything around you because you're changing your vibration, you're changing your energy, and it affects all the people around you and all of your situations. So it's a great, I recommend it to anyone.
Well, I would love every one of my clients that are out there. And even if you're not my client, you're just in this group, get that book, listen to her, because I can tell you this, I work with extremely sick individuals
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And the ones that seem to have the best results, not that if you're negative, you can't have good results, but the ones that seem to progress the best are the ones that are just simply grateful to be alive and grateful to have
Yeah.
the opportunity to heal. The ones that stay in that positive vibration, it seems to be a healing technique, just like coffee enemas or castor oil packs.
Yep.
Proper healing vibrations or just positive emotions,
Yep.
thankful, gratitude. These are things that help us heal because they raise the energy in our body at a vibrational level. And this can even be
Right.
measured at a subatomic level. So if you want to jump into
Mm-hmm.
quantum physics, it's a lot of fun to read. It's over most of our heads. But if you want to talk to Tim over at Cellcore,
Yep.
the atomic man, he gets real excited going into that kind of stuff. Well, I've got
Yeah.
a few other things. You know, what you gave the tip of the book, but if it's not up the book, what tips would you have that are just simple that somebody can introduce tomorrow morning?
Well, easily you can, tomorrow, or before you go to bed tonight, write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And it can be something so simple, saying, I am grateful that I was able to have broccoli for dinner, if broccoli is your favorite food. Or I am grateful that I got a nice text from my son, or that the woman checking me out at the grocery store smiled. Simple things like that. It doesn't have to be big gratitude stuff, but focusing on little things like that, even those can shift your vibration. And one technique that we have a holistic therapist at my clinic who's amazing. And one of the techniques, I hope, Heather, I'm sorry if I'm sharing this, but credit goes to you. Every time something good happens to you, say in your mind, thank you, more of this. Thank you, more of this. And so what you're doing is you're imprinting a positive emotion, a heightened vibration emotion with an event. So when my 14-year-old daughter comes up and gives me a hug, first thing that comes to my mind after, I love you is more of this. Thank you, more of this. And the more I do that, the more I'm creating that openness and environment for it, instead of, I could go to, oh, she never hugs me anymore. And that would be negative, and that would be creating less. So I want to create more, and I can do that by being grateful for the little things and the big things. But all those little steps, like when someone comes to see you and they go out feeling great, if they're like, thank you, more of this, they're going to focus on the positive, because that's not human nature. Human nature is to focus on the negative. So we have to retrain our brains to focus on the positive.
I love that. And to speak to that retrain your brain thing, I can't tell you how many clients I've talked to where they've been well, actually well, from Lyme or chronic illness for a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
And every single time that I see them, or they come in, and I'll have people come in once a quarter or something, they're like, they'll come in a panic if something's happened. Is Lyme back? Is Lyme back?
Yeah.
we've got to retrain your brain. We've got to get you from the is it Lyme to I'm well. And
Yes.
yeah, something's happening, but we can get under control. And just having that retraining. So when you feel good, accept it, say more of this, and move forward versus living back in that other stuff that we've got to get out of our brains, especially for the chronically ill, because if you were sick 20 years, you get these negative patterns that are ingrained. Just like throwing a baseball wrong, you ingrain that pattern into your brain waves.
Yep. You
And
do.
you got to break it.
You do. And that's the important thing about the subconscious mind and why it's so important to identify those things, because 95% of our behaviors come from our subconscious beliefs, 95%, and 95% of our actions and behaviors. So perfect example is you're at the bathroom sink and you just realized you brushed your teeth, but you don't remember doing it. It's a habit and you've done it without doing it. And we do that in life. The kicker is that our subconscious mind acts a third of a second faster than our conscious mind. And it's not reasonable. You can't reason with the subconscious mind. That's just where you store data and beliefs that you've created. So when all of a sudden you've got a chocolate chip cookie in your mouth and you go, wait a second, I told myself I wasn't going to eat any cookies today. That's because your subconscious mind prompted you to do it before you reasoned not to do it. And that's where a lot of self-sabotaging behavior comes along. And that's why mindfulness is so important, because it gets you out of that subconscious and into the conscious mind. But really that belief of one of my very favorite quotes is, and I'm going to probably botch it, but Henry Ford's quote that whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. So it's that, does our subconscious mind believe that we're sick, that the Lyme's coming back? If you do, then, are you creating a pathway for that to happen? So, and that's hard. Those are really hard things to shift, but it's possible.
Every one of my mold and Lyme clients and followers needs to hear that 100 times over. They need to put you on replay because they need to make that shift. So many people are so afraid of mold because they think it's going to be in the next house and the next house and the next house.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, it's possible, but we can't fear so much that we leave our bodies in a state of anxiety and adrenal fatigue due to this fear. So
Yep.
I love what you're saying, which is stay positive, train yourself, create habits. I'm a former athlete, so all I can think of is when I'm out on the football field or when I'm doing track and field, I can't think about what I'm going to do. I have to react. And the only way I can react properly is if I trained my body through repetitions over and over and over to do it, then I will react properly. Like you said, if I train my body that when a bad situation comes up, to not focus on the bad, but to look for the good, it's going to become nature versus the, I guess, nurture of that moment. You're going to go, that happened, but I'm still alive. I still got this. And if you force it for a while, I tell people, I'm like, don't lie to yourself, but at the same time, make sure you are actively trying to change that pattern, and eventually it becomes a new pattern, just like you're saying, which I love. But you said emotional blocks earlier. I definitely don't talk about that really out here at all. And that's my bad because they are a big problem. So the floor is going to be yours, because a lot of these people that are following me, at least from me, haven't heard it. They may have heard it from many others. So what is an emotional block specifically, and how do you support it?
Okay. Well, one of the easiest ways to describe it is kind of based on traditional Chinese medicine, because they've been in Ayurvedic medicine too. They've known this for eons, and they deal with it. Certain organs or certain emotions tend to settle in certain organs. So, for instance, the liver, which is often called the seat of emotions in the body, really tends to be almost like a magnet for anger. So if you have repeatedly been in situations where you've either experienced anger or you've stuffed anger, that will affect the liver. And it's a low vibration emotion. So it makes the liver vibrate at a lower frequency, which makes it more difficult for that liver to process things and detoxify. So
I've seen that so much. I wanted to dive in for a second. So
Okay.
if you're angry that you're sick or angry that you're having to go through this,
Mm-hmm.
something bad happens in your life. I can't tell you how many times, because I just want to make sure that, I mean, I'm so behind you on this. I've seen people that have had an angry situation, their detox pathway shuts down in the liver.
Yeah.
And then they're like, what's happening? And I'm like, did I go through the smorgasbord of all the things that are possible. I'm like, did something bad happen? Like, yeah, I was just so angry. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it's not the number one thing that I see causing liver to become,
Yeah.
but yeah, I absolutely see that.
It
Sorry for
comes.
cutting you off. This
No, no, that's
happens so
great.
often, and I don't talk about it enough. So you hit it the nail right on the head.
Yeah, it is great. Well, and one thing to think about with that as well, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great story. Um, is that anger can also, it can be stuff we are experiencing. It can be people that we're around that are really angry. So we're picking up on their vibration,
Hmm.
or it can be something we were born with. It can be a generational thing. It could have been your mother when you were in the womb experienced a lot of anger, and it imprinted on your liver. So you're starting out life with a tendency to have a lower liver function based on the anger that's stored in there. So a lot of times you'll see, especially you see a lot with children, but adults as well, because children can't hold it in as well, which is a beautiful thing. But if you're trying to detox a child, sometimes when you get to their liver, boy, they'll, really, the teapot is whistling,
Oh yeah.
and they're angry, and they're sometimes can even become, violent and physical because they don't know what to do with this emotion. So dealing with the emotional aspect of it can make it so much easier on the detoxification process for the children, and obviously for the parents who are taking care of the children.
So then, because I work with so many kids, if the mother or the family are
Mm-hmm.
sacrificing everything to take care of the kid, that happens so often.
I know.
And that weight is very heavy on the family. And maybe the mom is also sick, and they sent the kid in first because you're a mother, you sacrifice, you're amazing. And I work with so many incredible women for their children. What happens when the mother is suffering and her energy is low? What does that do to the family?
Yeah, well, I know you know the answer to that one. But that's so true. And that's the first thing I say to moms who bring their children into us, which they always do, is I'll look at them and say, what are you doing for yourself?
Mhm.
How are you taking care of yourself? Because I know that if they're not sick, they will more than likely be sick, because they want to sacrifice everything and take on that pain and suffering so that their children and their families don't suffer.
Yeah.
So when I look at situations like that, dealing, to supporting the mom is super important, and dealing with the emotions that the mom is holding on to, because, it's going to be a domino effect. The entire family is going to suffer.
Mhm.
And it makes it that much more difficult for the healing to occur. And so there's definitely some things that people can do to help physically and emotionally support the entire family unit, along with just the child that's being, that has become the focus, of course, understandably. As a mom, I know.
Yeah. So then, we kind of talked about what an emotional block in the liver was, and then I had to throw the moms in there because I'm always a little protective of those moms.
I
I love
know.
all my clients, but the superheroes in the world sometimes are the moms.
I
Uh,
agree.
so then, how do you support? Because you kind of explained block, but how do you support that block? What do you do for that?
So that's a good question. There are lots of things. I'll tell you what we do at the clinic, but then I'll give you some tips for your listeners, how they can support. In the clinic, we do two primary things in dealing with emotions. One is we do emotional clearing. So we have a couple of techniques that we've developed at the clinic. One is called ECR, which is stands for energetic cellular release, and it uses a cold laser to and imprints of specific emotions and organs with emotions to help facilitate the body's release of those emotions. It's an easy process, a fairly easy process. It entails a lot of muscle testing, energy testing, that kind of stuff to figure out where the emotions are. But it's very effective at helping people kind of move to the next level. And then we have a technique called mind, body, spirit release, which is really the next level of that. It's actually kind of like ECR on steroids. So that's the one that you delve into the limiting beliefs and, when you were 6 years old, you developed this limiting belief that in order to feel love and feel cared for, I needed to be sick. And, I'm telling people this as I'm going through that, and they go, oh yeah, that's when I fell off my bicycle and I was in the hospital. And all of a sudden my whole family started giving me all this attention, and the nurses and the doctors. And from that day forward, I was always sick. So it's kind of going back in time and figuring out what those root emotional and limiting beliefs were that led you to where you were. So first it's bringing awareness. And the second, it's using some clearing techniques that we do to help release those limiting beliefs. And then lastly, we have a line of essential oils called Trivibrance, which there are 5 essential oil blends that are, they're not just oils, they're actually imprinted with frequencies that kind of like put them on steroids. Like there's one called Compassion and Forgiveness, and it tends to work really well with people. Liver detox, we'll stay on the liver detox theme. And when people are doing liver detox, it helps move out the resentment and the guilt and the shame and those kinds of emotions and the anger that tend to be settling in the liver, and replaces them with compassion and forgiveness. And usually it's self-compassion and self-forgiveness as much as anything. And faith and trust and amazing emotions. And it kind of elevates people to a different level, which is really cool. And you can use them like underneath a castor oil pack. So it drives them in. Or I'll have people, if they're doing a coffee enema, put it on their liver gallbladder before they do the coffee enema. So you can remove, hopefully some of the emotions with the bile out through the proper channels instead of getting stuck in there. So it's a very cool kind of, let's move you to the next level after we've identified and cleared out a lot of these emotional blocks. Let's facilitate the, finishing product, and then the bringing in of positive, high vibration emotions and feelings to replace them.
Well, I've got a fun story for a moment about you.
Oh.
When we were at Cellcore Boise, a client of mine is there that you did some work on.
Mm-hmm.
And we've worked on her quite a bit for mold and parasites. And after you did a bit of work on her emotional work, you released a bunch of parasites.
Oh, it's amazing how that happens.
So how about parasites and emotions, and what are some connection there? Because like I said, my group is so infectious disease focused, and doing some emotional work. I don't know what exactly all you did. I know there was some clearing work done. All of a sudden, whew.
Yep. So the first thing when I'm working with someone with parasites, the first thing I ask them is, who are the parasites in your life? So, and usually they can identify them right away. Like, oh yeah, this person's draining me. This person's draining my energy. And so, and that's more kind of, they don't have to tell me who it is, but I want people to be in that mindset that, okay, there's an emotional and energetic side to the physical. So if you look at it from that standpoint, like if your mitochondria is, you can't get someone's mitochondria up and to the level that it should be, ask them to journal about, or I ask them to journal about what is draining you. So is it your job? Is your job draining you? Do you maybe need to rethink what you're doing in life? Which has been, one of the we've had so many, with the current state of affairs in the world, so many awful, awful things. But one, I'm trying to look for the things to be grateful for instead of, down in the muck. But one of the things that I have seen, and you probably have too in your practice, is I have so many clients that have said, I don't want to live this life like it is anymore. I'm changing my career. I'm changing my relationships. I want to move out to the country, whatever it is. They're making choices that are bringing them energy and moving away from the things that they're now have enough time to stand back and say, oh, that was draining. I don't want that in my life.
Yeah. Get rid of your parasites no matter what it is.
Exactly.
Job,
Exactly.
person,
Yeah.
organism.
Yep. Absolutely.
Expanded the whole concept of parasites, everybody here tonight.
So now, I don't want people to walk around and tell their spouse that they're their parasite or anything like that. Please, no.
Talk, right? No negative talk.
No. Say, I'm so grateful. I am so grateful. Thank you. Look for the things you're grateful for.
Well, you've talked a lot about adults, but as far as clearing kids or doing emotional work with kids, is there something different?
That's a good question. So the technique that we do, the ECR with the laser that I was telling you about, with imprints, works really well on kids. And we pair that up with different organs, and the oils work really well on kids. For children, a really neat thing about, and this is going back to a question you asked earlier about working with moms, is when you clear the moms of their emotional stuff, a lot of times the kids are cleared as well. So a lot of times when a mom comes in and she's having a lot of issues with, stick with anger, she's stuffing her anger and resentment that, all the situation and the horrible, my life was not supposed to go in this direction. That is emanating to the whole family. And the child, of course, is picked up on that, no matter how hard she has tried not to allow that to happen. It's human nature, and it's no judgment at all. It's just how it is. And when we work on the moms that are like that, the kids completely shift the way that they interact. So sometimes shifting an adult helps the children. And there are lots of children respond really well to Bach flower essences. Mm-hmm. That is, it's easy. They don't have any taste. You can put them in their water. And if you're not familiar with Bach flower essences, there are 38 different flower essences that Edward Bach, 150 years ago came up with. And each one has a specific emotion or kind of grouping of emotions that it helps balance out. So if you've ever used Rescue Remedy, that is 5 Bach flower essences that are for stress, which work really well for kids and dogs. And not to put kids in the same, I'm just saying they work you can use them for multiple things. So, you can easily just look at the list of the emotions and go, oh, yeah, fear of unknown things. That is my child. And I'm, nightmares, whatever it is. And you can give them some Bach flower essences to help balance out their emotions during the process.
I have all 38 in my office. I've been using them since the day I got into practice. They can be incredibly effective. I've definitely taken Rescue Remedy my fair share, going through difficult times. So I can attest to the effectiveness of that for sure.
Excellent.
Well, what can people do at home for themselves?
Okay. Well, we've got obviously the Bach flower essences. Essential oils can be very powerful. They're very high vibration. And so they have done studies and found that essential oils actually can affect the amygdala. So they can help your body release trauma. There is a great app. I'm not advertising this. I have nothing to do with this app, but I just love it. And it's about essential oils. It's called Essential Emotions. And it's a specific essential oil brand, but it doesn't matter. You don't have to know anything about that brand. Just get some good quality essential oils. Again, it's called Essential Emotions. And you can go in and look up specific emotions, and it will tell you what essential oil to use and where to use it.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's a very cool resource for people. There's actually a book by the same name. And I just love looking at it. So like if you have father issues, frankincense works really well for healing that. Mother issues is myrrh. Childhood trauma would be ylang ylang. Jasmine is for sexual trauma. So there's a lot of healing that can be done using essential oils. And if you pair those with something like tapping, EFT, can be very helpful. I love EFT for in the moment shifts. So it's not going to necessarily, from my experience, and I know everybody has different experiences. It can help in the moment, but it's not really, unless you know exactly what those limiting beliefs are and exactly, where they're coming from, it's hard to release them. And tapping, sometimes you're kind of out there. If you've ever done it, you're just saying things, but you don't know if you're hitting on the right stuff. So you tap on, if you've never done it before, you tap on acupuncture points, and it helps release emotional, like pent up emotions. And it can really shift you from a bad place to a good place. So there are tons of YouTube videos out there that teach you how to do tapping for different things.
All right.
Or EFT.
So we have EFT, we have oils, and we have Bach flowers for home help. Now, is there anything that you do to teach people how to help themselves, or is it just coming to your office and doing treatment?
We actually, funny that you say that, because we just have finally, after many years of practitioners and clients asking us to teach them how to do the techniques that we do, we finally started a training program. And it is a certification program, but it's for practitioners and lay people to do, because you can use it on your whole family. So it's 3 levels of learning how to do emotional and then limiting belief and spiritual kind of clearing. So it's moving from kind of baseline, using the laser and the imprints and doing energy testing, how to determine what emotions are blocked and where they are and how to clear them, and how to do surrogate clearing, like on children and infants, and even remote clearing, because we do a lot of remote work at my office, a lot of remote energy work and a lot of remote clearings. And they're just as effective, sometimes even more effective. So we finally have opened that up to help share it with people, because I just feel like there's such a gap of that learning process, and such a desire for people to know how to do it, that I just kind of felt like, okay, now's the time. People get it, and people are saying, I know it's there, but I don't know what to do and how to address it. So we're rolling that out. It's, if people are interested, they can go to our website. There's information on there. The course actually doesn't start until January, but we're going to limit the spaces just so that we can it'll be online, just so that we can give enough attention to people so that they can really learn the process and go through it and be able to utilize it in their own lives or in their practice.
Awesome. So online, so we don't have to worry about travel during the winter with who knows what's going to be happening.
I know.
And then it's for anybody. So what about the oils? Where do you get a hold of these oils that you're talking about that are imprinted?
Those actually we sell at the clinic as well. So you can go to the website for the oils. It's called trivibrance.com, TRI vibrance.com, or you can just go to our website, which is heightsofhealth.com. And you can click on and read through it. And there's actually on that, like I said, there are only 5 blends, but on the website at the bottom of Tri Vibrance, there is a printout that you can print out and see what oils are in each blend. It doesn't tell you what's imprinted because it's proprietary, but there are about 100 different frequencies imprinted on each of these oils that are specific to whatever the oil is trying to accomplish. So like I was saying, the compassion and forgiveness blend, it'll tell you what oils are in there. It'll tell you what it releases, the emotions it releases. It'll tell you the emotions that it increases or replaces, and then it tells you how to apply them. So it's pretty easy, and you can use them, for kids. They're in a rollerball form, and they're fun to play with for sure, and can be very effective.
Awesome. Those are going to be very useful. I know a lot of people in this group, from comments being made and people I talked to, could definitely use a lot of emotional support going through the journeys they're going through, because like I was saying earlier, Lyme and mold is just an incredible weight that some people carry. And when you're watching your kids or your spouse or your family, it's just so heavy. Well,
It is.
I really want to do something before we get off of here, because we've been going almost 40 minutes now. If you had to leave people with just some suggestions to get their mind right, just the top thing or two that they could implement tonight. I know we talked about a few things earlier, but what would you suggest for those who are going through chronic illness? First thing off your mind that you can implement.
Well, that's the gratitude, going back to the gratitude. So in case you forgot, write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And every little step, do that every night. Just keep a journal next to your bed. If you can't get the book, The Magic, just get a journal and write 3 things every night. The other would be, get in the habit of every time, no matter how small, something good happens, saying, thank you, more of this. Thank you, more of this. That's my therapist, holistic therapist, Heather's hint. And it really, really works. She teaches, we teach it together, but she really does the lion's share of it. Amazing manifestation workshops, teaching people how to make shifts in their lives. And it is so fun and amazing. And just the shifts that people have. And that's part of what she teaches, is focusing on the good that's happening and creating more and more and more of it. So even if it's this small, the more it's kind of like, there's a kind of a joke at my house, or there was, every time I made spaghetti, I would be wearing a white shirt, and I would get a little dot of spaghetti sauce on my white shirt. My shirt is almost all white, but there'd be a little dot of spaghetti sauce. And you know what? Every time you look in the mirror, that sauce spot is all you see, right? It's kind of like the pimple in the middle of your forehead, and that's all you see. Because we're focusing on the bad and not all the white around it. But you can shift that if that spot's a good thing, and you start focusing on all that, and the white may seem to be the bad stuff, but the more you focus on the little spot, the good thing, then that's going to grow, and that's where your attention goes. So where your attention goes is where you're creating your life. So I know it sounds very simplistic, but those shifts can really help you heal, like we were talking about with bringing your vibration up, but it can also help you have more joy in the process, instead of it being just this horrible, overwhelming uphill climb, which it definitely feels like that, I'm sure, a lot of the time. I mean, having come from being sick like that, it's just, I remember days and days, it took everything I got just to walk 5 steps to go to the bathroom. And just that, if the house was burning down, I don't think I could get out of bed to leave the house to escape the fire, because I was that fatigued. And so I would sit there and have this negativity in my mind. And until I shifted that into wow, I'm noticing the things I can do, not all the things I can't do, I started to be able to do more and more and more.
So even with what you just said, even if you can't make Lyme go away or parasite go away or get out of your moldy home, you can take hold of writing down 3 things you're grateful for every night. You can make that change. You can be grateful for the fact that you can start making a change on your mind, even if you're not in a place where you can make a change on the rest of things. So there's always an upside. There's always something that you can be grateful for. There's always something you can do, no matter where you are, because only you can control here. Only you have the power to say, I'm grateful. So no matter where you are, follow her directions and just simply be a little grateful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for the people that want emotional clearing, how do they get a hold of you?
My website, probably. They can go look up. We've got a lot of information on there. We have actually 5 practitioners at my office that do emotional clearing. We have a holistic therapist that really works with more intensely with patterns and teaching you how to change those things, like the gratitude I was talking about. But all that information is on our website, which is heightsofhealth.com. And we, like I said, we do it remotely. We do have a practitioner in Austin. We have a practitioner in Denver. We have one in Oregon, but the main office is in Houston. But we do everything. You know, we see people all over the world. So
that's amazing. Well,
yeah.
everybody, if you need some emotional clearing, if you need some mindset work, call her clinic, get your appointment, see one of her practitioners, because mindset is vitally important to your health. With everything I do, you have to have the right mindset to be able even to get through protocols at times, because you've got to be able to stick with it. One of the biggest frustrations I have in practice is when people, I give them a direction and they struggle to complete it because of depression or anxiety, fears.
Yep.
So I work some with those things, just enough to get people motivated and moving forward. But if they were working with someone like you that was an expert in that field, able to push them up into the next step, it would even help me to get people better quicker. So it is an incredible.
Thank you.
I'm so thankful you were here with us tonight. Is there any last words that you want to put out there to everyone?
You know, I'm so grateful that I was able to be here tonight. And I hope that at least one person starts writing down some things they're grateful for. And yeah, even if you don't, you know, want to do remote energy work or emotional clearing, we do have a lot of really good articles and resources on our website, and actually have some good YouTube videos that can teach you some, you know, techniques and breathing techniques and things like that that can really help you with the emotional aspect. So.
Well, there's about 6,000 people in this group. I hope there's way more than one person that starts doing the gratitude.
I do too. I hope so.
I'd be happy with 6,000. Everybody a little bit better. I've got a pretty aggressive hope. I usually do.
I love that.
I want people well. I don't care where they're at.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I'm here to be a rock. We're going to be positive. We're going to get well. And there's no other option.
Fantastic.
So be focused on it.
Well, that's what they need. They need someone who believes in them sometimes to believe in themselves. We all need that.
Well, I'm so appreciative you were here. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
out here. Thank you to everybody else that are watching this. Go check out our website. Check out our oils. I'm going to. And we'll be back next week, same time, same place, with Emily Moreau. So join us then. See you guys next time. Bye, everybody.